Hello, this is Dr. Richard Cherney welcoming you into another episode of Journey into Awareness. My co-host, Jamie Love from San Diego, could not be with us today due to prior commitments. It is my pleasure to welcome to our show Joan Bucchino, and she has a very interesting story, ladies and gentlemen, about her journey into her own awareness. Hi, Joan.
Hi.
How are you?
Okay, how are you?
I'm fine.
Thank you.
So tell the audience and myself what inspired you to be where you are today.
Okay. Well, I always kind of had this very upbeat, cheery personality growing up, and I always had this feeling that I was going to do something big. I didn't know what I really wanted to be. I went to school for marketing, and I got a job at Xerox right out of school, and I was in sales for a while, and I had this burning feeling that I had something more important that I needed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I did well at Xerox, and I had a great time there. I was successful, and I was starting to feel that I wanted to do more and be bigger. So I went to a Tony Robbins conference, and I get there, and he's talking about what do you want to do in life and why? What do you want to do and why? So I had this feeling, and I just jumped out of the audience. There were like 3,000 people there, and I jumped out of the audience, and I said to him, I want to work for you. And he stopped and he looked at me. He's like, "Excuse me?" Yeah. He said, "You want to work for me?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "I want to help people, and I want a job. I want to work for you." And so we said, "Okay, well, you could talk to my manager and about this after the show." So I said, "Okay." So I went and spoke with his manager, and I ended up missing half of the seminar because I spoke with him for like 3 hours.
My goodness.
And then I ended up working for Tony Robbins for a while because that feeling was in me that I wanted to help people. I wanted to do something big. So I only worked with him for about 8 months, and it didn't happen. I wasn't feeling that was the thing.
What did you do with Tony's organization?
I was a peak performance strategist, which is like a field sales rep, which we prepared Tony for seminars. So
I see.
I would go into a town about 6 weeks before he got there, and I would get everybody in the neighborhood basically revved up and prepared for him. So I'd speak to sales organizations, and they would make appointments for me. They'd put a big poster outside that I was coming, and I'd get there, and I would have an audience, and I would give them certain takeaways as far as sales skills and things that they could do to better build rapport, to be more successful in what they're doing, to motivate. It was actually funny because my first one I ever went to was at a funeral home.
Oh my God.
Really funny. I was like, yes, you guys can do it, But anyway, so then I did that, and it was great, but it was kind of like a lot of traveling. It wasn't really my thing. So I came home, and I ended up eventually, settling down and getting married, and I still had that feeling, but I did go back to Xerox because it was kind of like practical,
Right.
So anyway, I had my first daughter, Julia, and then I had my second daughter, Grace, and unfortunately, something was going on with Grace's development.
I see.
So
she had developmental delays.
Yeah. She was only about 8 months old, and we had noticed that she was not developing properly. So brought her to the doctor, and to make a very long story short, took 4.5 years, but eventually finally found out what it was that was Grace's problem. At first we thought it was autism, but it wasn't, and it happened to be something horrible called Sanfilippo syndrome, which is a degenerative disease with no cure and no treatment.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I have
Must have been a shock for you and the family.
Yes, it was devastation, pure devastation. I had no idea how I would ever get through it, honestly.
Right.
And I prayed and hoped and wished that we would find a cure, and I started an organization to raise money towards a cure, and I was a little bit, I felt a little bit like, I don't know if this is really going to work. I was kind of, I almost felt like it didn't matter how much money I gave them. I had a feeling that I might not be saving Grace in time.
Exactly.
Because all the signs kind of pointed to that. So, so instead of living for a cure, I chose, because she was such an inspiration and a teacher, to live in the moment with her.
Right.
And to follow her lead. And so my life was about her teachers in my home,
Yes.
and her therapies and her care, and my other daughter Julia just as much.
Right.
Which oftentimes, when you have a child with special needs, they become the focus. But thank God I was able to get the help I needed for Grace, and then
Yes.
still be
Sure.
100% mom, thank God, to my daughter Julia
Right.
as well. But through watching Grace and working with Grace,
Yes.
my purpose finally came. And what
Yes.
it was is believe it or not, a game for motivating children and inspiring them to be healthy, to be
Okay.
kind to themselves and nurturing, to be kind to others and their environment. And I figured out the game. I came up with this idea that's now a patented educational method by
Wonderful.
watching her with her teachers every day in my house.
Yes.
So there was only certain ways that she could learn something,
Yes.
that she could learn things. And I
Okay.
said, wow, if this could teach her when she's got such a big mountain to climb over as far as learning anything, then I could use this method to teach typical children that don't have cognitive issues because it's very motivational. And I asked myself, if I was going to teach children things, what would I want to teach them? And it was all about
Correct.
health and wellness and kindness and really taking advantage of the health that we do have.
Yes.
And many people overlook that. And when you have a child with a rare disease that has no treatment and no cure, it becomes very obvious that, our health is such a gift. Our moments that we have with the people that we love are
All
such a
too
gift.
often, Joan, we take that for granted.
Yes.
I kind of feel that our bodies are our temple,
Yes.
and we have to worship them or it by taking care of it. I know from my own experience having cerebral palsy, and having that was my inspiration to becoming who I am today,
Yes.
and inspiring others because of what I've been through.
Yes.
And I know that when I can get out of bed and just do the normal functions, it's going to be a great day. And it's a miracle. So you're pointing out how we all have miracles in our lives. We just have to pay attention to what they are. And they can be very small. And we'll talk about more miracles after this message.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to thedailyblue.com. I am Corinne Murphy-Caro, and I'm here with my good friend Lydia Ann, who is now joining the Daily Blue with her new show, Stellar Style with Lydia Ann. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Corinne. Pleasure to be here. I'm really excited about the new upcoming show.
So am I, because you are redoing the entire set.
Yes, I'm really excited. It will be a very fun project, and I'm looking forward to making a lot of revisions.
Yeah, well, stay tuned for a new set and obviously to see the beautiful Lydia Ann on thedailyblue.com. We'll see you really soon. Thank you, Lydia Ann.
Thanks, Corinne.
So that's what we have to pay attention to, small miracles in your life. And when you pay attention to the small ones, the bigger ones come because
Yes.
you pay attention to the bigger ones.
Yes.
So Grace was really a miracle in your life. And she inspired you to do great things, didn't she?
She did. And when you talk about awareness, I think it's so important to use what happens to us in our lives as an indication of pointing within, pointing inside and saying, maybe because this happened is why I need to do what I'm doing. So,
Correct.
there's this song, I really get very inspired from music, an old song, I Got the Music in Me by Kiki D, I think sings it.
Yes.
And it's like, grab onto your blues and just play them. So you've got to, instead of too many of us run away from our problems and our issues and try to bury them and try to maybe go to a substance or to some kind of addiction or to just numb the pain.
Yes.
But when you actually embrace what it is that you have and you say to yourself that maybe this is exactly why I was placed here on this planet,
Right.
then you can move through it, through self-love,
Yes.
and really make a change in your own life and in the lives of others.
Well, I come from the perception that we are the centers of our own universes,
Yes.
and we affect everyone in our universe, and then it expands outward even more.
Yes.
So that's what I feel you're talking about too, in different language.
Absolutely. And we have to understand our own universe before we
Sure.
can be responsible citizens to the other parts of our universe and
Right.
the hearts that are out there and the people that are out there. And I've learned so much about that through my own need to focus
Right.
on my own self care
Exactly.
through the disease, her disease. It's almost like when your child gets a disease, it's like you get a disease too.
Sure.
So
You
I
suffer
felt-
right along with
yeah,
them.
no,
And you grieve,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you feel their pain because they're part of you.
Yes, and it's your issue. I was her mother.
That's right.
So it was me that had to make sure that she was safe. It was me that had to be there and care for her. And I loved it. I loved it.
Yes.
When you say grab hold of your blues, my God, it's like I was lucky. I was lucky to have her to care
Yes.
for. Really
And,
lucky.
and this show, Journey into Awareness, with myself and Jamie, is about love and the power of love, and how the power of love really does change everything, from yourself to loving other people. It really does change everything.
Yes.
And I feel that there's not enough love in this world, and we need to get back to love.
Yes.
Like the 60s movement, where the Beatles said, oh, love is all you need.
Yes.
And
I agree 100%.
We have a love train on Journey into Awareness, and you have a seat on that love train.
Yeah.
And you're also an example of how you can transform grief and sorrow into a very positive and proactive emotion. Maybe talk about that a little bit.
Okay. So when I got the diagnosis, I actually, was thinking like, what am I going to do? Drive myself off a cliff? Kill myself? I mean, really, like, when
Yes.
you hear
Sure.
that, it's like you feel like you are trapped.
Yes.
Like how was I ever going to get out of the hole?
That's right.
And I was so scared. But then I, after a while, I couldn't think of what to pray for, so I prayed for mercy. Because I just thought that would be the best thing to pray for. Just mercy for grace,
Right.
mercy for grace. And then to just kind of like start to say, well, maybe this is my purpose and maybe this is why I was here, put here. But I forgot what your question was, darn it.
Yes.
What was your question? I forgot.
I said, how did you take your grief? You're an example of how you took your grief and transformed it into something positive.
Yes,
And we all have grief in our lives.
yes.
And how did you do that with grace and
Yes.
yourself?
I did it, thank God, because of Grace,
Yes.
because of her example. And now Grace never even spoke. She didn't have any words. So she was just like really a very just present person.
She didn't need to speak.
No, she didn't.
Because
And people
her
would
heart
say,
came right
"Oh my
out.
gosh, Grace was like a fully evolved being, like fully."
Mhm.
And when people would say she doesn't speak, how does she tell you what she wants? I would say she doesn't want anything. She's perfectly happy. She was the happiest person I ever knew. Really,
She was in bliss all the
100%
time.
joy. Yeah, 100%. No fear. She was always present. And so through the gifts that she gave me, I was able to do that. And then,
Well, Joan, it was like Jamie and I always say, it's about awareness and really getting in touch with things, and Grace was your teacher.
yes,
And she helped you to learn about yourself.
yes,
And out of her life, you became inspired and you started a foundation in her name. Tell the audience about that and
First-
all of this
Okay.
that's related to it.
Great. Well, my other daughter, Julia, was also a big inspiration. And Grace, from working with her teachers, I came up with this educational idea. And Julia and I worked together and found that when we did certain actions that had to do with rewards
Right.
and repeating things over and over an extended period of time, that habits were formed. And so I basically, instead of just wanting to ask people for money through Grace for a Cure, Grace for a Cure is my foundation, I decided to develop a product.
Okay.
And I could show it to you.
Yes.
That this one is about eating fruits and vegetables. It's a 5-a-day game. So kids for 6 weeks, they eat fruits and vegetables, and then they have a scorecard, and they go back to their teacher, and they get credit every week, accountability.
Oh my God, that's so adorable.
Yeah,
That's so
for
adorable.
eating their fruits and vegetables.
Yes.
And then when they get to the end, they are able to go into the community to get free things. So, and we point out that they
I wanna
have
play
glitter
it.
inside. Yes, inner glitter. I've turned my daughter Grace into a superhero. She's a super health hero, and her name is
Oh, my
Amazing
goodness.
Grace, AMA plus Zing Grace, Amazing Grace.
Wow.
Book on the way, children's book on the way, and
Amazing.
and this one is all about taking care of the planet.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, and I have this inner glitter it's a little butterfly, and it shines, and I put it on their palms to show them that when they do actions, each little grain represents an action that all the kids in the country are doing, and that they're part of a very special team of healthy people that care about others and themselves and the environment. And I think that children's self-esteem is one of the most important things that we could focus on for every reason in the world, for the health of our country,
Yes.
for the health of our environment, for the relationships that they build
Yes.
with people, anti-bullying,
Yes.
everything.
Yes.
So I'm very, very passionate about not wasting children, because it wasn't nice to have to see my daughter succumb to a rare disease, and there was nothing we could do about it. And then to see perfectly healthy children being born and then getting sick for no reason is just absolutely unacceptable. Unacceptable.
Unfortunately, that's true, but we have to take a lesson away from that, and we have to learn from it,
Yes.
and we have to inspire ourselves because of it, and be a champion too.
Absolutely.
And Joan Bucchino and her daughters Julia
Yes.
and Grace are an example of how, out of emotional, painful situations, the phoenix rises from the ashes, and you can become reborn
Yes.
and learn to love again, and love yourself and others. And that's what this show is about today. What a wonderful message,
Yes.
Joan, you've given us today. What a
Thank
wonderful
you.
gift.
Can I close with one
Namaste.
quick thing? Namaste
Absolutely.
to you. I just wanted to say that compassion, a child drew this. This is me thinking about Grace, and this is Grace. And compassion is such a important motivator for children, that you can actually make a difference by telling my story, that kids get so inspired about Grace's story.
Right.
And she has been reborn. She is still alive, and we're all still alive in many ways.
How can people
many
get a
ways.
hold of you, Joan? And what events are coming up for the Amazing Grace Foundation?
Excellent. There's an event coming on September 26th at Heckscher Park in Huntington on the 26th of September. And, we're going to have a Green Schools event. So it'll be about really encouraging schools to
Right.
have healthier green actions throughout the whole thing. And my website is graceplayusa.org. So it would be great if you can come and visit us on that and learn more about us.
And you're available for speaking engagements,
Yes,
etc.?
absolutely. SEPTA, all kinds of events just to inspire and motivate.
Thank you, Joan Bucchino, on behalf of Jamie and myself, for being on the love train and helping us to increase our awareness and our journey.
Namaste.
Namaste.